Tired of the hit pieces on QB1. He deserves better. I'm glad you brought this up. I was going to talk about this probably in a separate video, but I'll address it now because right before I started, I saw Rodgers did put out this tweet. I am glad that he said something because I don't believe for a second the CNN story. I'm just going to be honest with y'all. I try to keep it real. I don't believe for a second this happened. And I think it's disgusting to bring up conversations from 12, 13 years ago in private and then as a gotcha piece all of a sudden. So some might disagree with me. That's fine. I don't believe the story. Whatever. I just don't buy it. I've seen too much nonsense out there over the last couple of years, not even just in sports, but in life for me to believe it. But I am glad Rodgers took to Twitter to issue this statement basically saying the Sandy Hook denying story is BS, right? And if you go back and the guy who's been on the show many times, Jamie Stewart, formerly of News 12, now covers New York sports for Newsday, he dug up a great clip of Aaron Rodgers in 2012 being asked about the horrible Sandy Hook tragedy and speaking out on it. So when Rodgers says, as I'm on the record saying in the past, he's been on the record publicly in the past talking about this. So that's people have asked me my thoughts on it. I'm glad Rodgers said something. Now, I think Rodgers gets a kick out of how ridiculous the vice president story is, which is why he personally hasn't sent out a tweet like saying it's not true because it's so absurd. If you even think about it, I don't even entertain it as a reality. I would like him to eventually just shut it down just so we could like stop everyone making jokes about it. We just move forward. But whatever. Like, obviously, when you're accused of what he was accused of in that CNN story last night, he had to say something, and I'm glad he did. So there's Aaron Rodgers' statement, and I wanted to do my part as someone who reaches a wide audience to share it because obviously this is a little different than like the joke of the vice president storyline. This is real life, serious horror stuff. So I'm glad he said something. Let's go to Johnny. He's up next on our show this afternoon here. What's up, Johnny?
What's up, bro? Hey, man.
Hey, nice
They
hat.
they came in, and I got the other one that just came in too. Actually,
What do you think? Looks good.
dude, they're actually really awesome. I love the brim on how big it is because I have a big head. So like a lot of the 47s, when you wear them, they're kind of small, right? Fits good, comfortable. So pretty hype, man. I ordered more because they finally that cream and green lid, they finally had it on the actual website itself. So I'm purchasing more, man. But I just wanted to come on here, show you that they came in. Dude, they're over there from Texas, I guess, right? If I'm not mistaken. Well,
Um, they're also West Coast based too.
yeah, it was supposed to be here on the 11th, but hey, it is what it is. But dude, I'm happy with the signings that we got going on. I mean, I think CJ taking that pay cut was huge. At this point, man, I really feel like they're gonna go ahead and they're gonna trade back, and I'm cool with it. You know, it is what it is. Hey, go Jets, man! This
I
is
love it.
we need to win now, so let's do it.
Definitely. Johnny now looking like QB1 and VP1 of the
Yo,
New
that's
York
kind of
Jets.
you and me right there, bro. Like
That's us.
you're Rogan and I'm Aaron.
uh, hey, my man, that works for me. Good call by Johnny. Appreciate you using promo code. If you guys want a Huga House hat, Huga House, great brand, vintage hats. Aaron wears them all the time. Asman at checkout, you get 15% off hugahouse.com. Speaking of CJ Mosley, I pulled this clip. So obviously, I'm a huge fan of CJ's, always has been. But now that he's a friend of the show, I mean, he's my guy now. So I wanted to play a clip from the interview we had, from the interview I did with CJ Mosley back at the Super Bowl last month or a month and a half ago, whenever that was at Radio Row, because I think Jet fans can start to get a little more excited based on what's happened so far this offseason. So I asked CJ Mosley, I'm like, man, everyone said Aaron Rodgers came back to practice and he was running the scout team and he was dicing the starting defense up. Is that true? So here's a little give and take on what Mosley saw from Rodgers.
Can you tell me about these practices when Aaron came back? He was coming off IR, or he was
lighting up.
But when you say that, like we hear that and go, it's just the Jets putting that out there. You know, the Jet propaganda. You get us all excited again. And I want to believe me, I live and die with you guys all the time.
I really wish I could just show a few plays that I like I recorded. Like I said that, like,
so this is on scout offense going against the number one defense.
Against our defense. Like obviously, the pass rush is not going full speed.
Yeah, so Quinn's not hitting him.
He has a little more time to make a throw, but just him making that throw and that arm power, the precision, it's a beautiful thing to see. He throws a great ball. You see it's like seeing a beautiful like cut ball, like a curve ball. It's like dang, like whew.
Well, there was
to get him back on the field.
There was a line in Hard Knocks with you over the summer where it was like, that's an Aaron Rodgers throw right there.
Yeah. I mean, it's some things, you play this game long enough, you you learn the X's and O's, but then you really start to figure out like with your body, how can I like tweak a certain mechanic or tweak a certain thing to put myself in the right position. So like some of the throws he make and like the way he throw them, like he knows exactly what he's doing. Like no matter, I mean, you think about the scout team offense, like some of the guys haven't even played a game and they're out there looking like all pros.
You getting me excited again.
So man, it's great, man. We're excited for it. So football is 100% injury rate. So we can't guarantee nobody's going to get hurt. Like we know how those things work, but we just got to go out there and like I said, make our fans, make the people that's in our community believe and see the way we play. They can envision us holding up a Super Bowl trophy.
How do you not hear that and love CJ Mosley, by the way? What a good leader, man. I love that guy. Is he the same guy he was maybe a couple of years ago from like a speed standpoint? Probably not. But he's arguably the smartest guy on the field. And he's such a great leader, and I love that, man. He's making a bunch of practice squad wide receivers look like all pros, apparently is what Rodgers was doing. I love it, man. Hey, keep down the Jets. Everyone doubted the Cubs. Everyone doubted the Red Sox. It's always the darkest before dawn. At least there's like some optimism you can have. There's a lot of questions, no doubt. But, certainly there's more reasons I could point to be optimistic about this upcoming year than pessimistic. And, I heard CJ talk about how, injuries are 100% in the NFL. Well, if God forbid something does happen to Rodgers, they now have Tyrod Taylor, who's capable of winning them, some games in a pinch. So it's not just the O-line that needed to be fixed. They had to get the backup quarterback situation figured out, and they did. Let's go to Adam. He's up next on our show. What's up, Adam?
Hey, what's up, Jake? How you doing?
What's up, man? How are you?
Good. I apologize if I'm addressing something that maybe you had addressed earlier in the video, but have you seen the Aaron Rodgers recent Instagram post?
Yep, I actually talked about it a little bit earlier for those just tuning in.
Oh, okay. I figured that you'd still be talking about it just because of how, I don't know, just the fact that he hasn't put this whole vice presidency campaign to rest already is kind of, I don't know, it just seems like a little bit concerning to our organization.
You want my theory on why he hasn't said anything?
Yeah, for sure.
So this is why I think Rodgers obviously addressed the Sandy Hook stuff because it's a real world crazy allegation that would destroy him if he didn't say anything, right? So he had to come out, and I'm glad he said something. He should. The reason why I believe Aaron Rodgers hasn't put down the BP thing is, one, it's so ridiculous, and I think he's laughing at the absurdity of it, as most of any real Jet fan should be, because it's not happening. And two, the attention it's giving to RFK, who he is friends with, right? He is a fan and supporter of RFK. It's promoting RFK's campaign. If Rodgers shuts it down, that's it. But in 12 days, RFK is actually going to announce his running mate. His campaign has said March 26th. So I think Rodgers is just trying to do a solid by his friend. Right? You know what I mean? Like the more this is out there, the more people are talking about RFK. I think it's actually genius guerrilla marketing, if that makes sense. Now people don't like it because it's Rodgers, but if you already hated Rodgers, your opinion of him is not going to change. If he actually leaves the Jets to be the run for vice president, my opinion of him will be different. I don't think there's any scenario that happens because I know for a fact he's told people that he plans on playing for multiple more years for the Jets. In fact, he said last week he wants to play 2, 3, or 4 more years. So I think he's just laughing at the memes and all the other stuff out there. And in 12 days, when RFK actually announces his running mate, he would have gotten a ton of attention because of this Rodgers story. That's why I think he hasn't said anything yet.
Okay, so you think that there's a lot of strategy behind it, but I guess from like a Jets perspective, it's just bringing a lot of uncertainty to the team. But like you said,
do you really think the Jets truly believe that Aaron Rodgers, who played 4 plays for them, is now going to leave after he worked his ass off to come back and go run for vice president of the United States? It's like absurd to even think about it. I'm not even going to go there. If it happens, I probably would renounce my Jet fandom. I can't do it anymore. That's it. That would be.
I will say if there's if there's a quarterback who would do it, it would be Aaron Rodgers. Though he's probably the only guy who I think might be able to pull the trigger on that one. But I get what you're saying, and probably shouldn't be taking it too seriously. I appreciate the call, Jake.
Adam, thanks, man. That's just how I look at it. If he actually leaves to do it, I will have different opinions on it. All right. I'll have probably several rants and then I'll probably renounce my fandom. So I don't think I can handle it. But like, come on, people. Come on. Let's be smart here. You know, like Aaron Rodgers is already hated by the people that hate him anyway. So like, I was like, he doesn't need to say anything. He had to come out and say something about the Sandy Hook stuff because that's insane. I don't believe it for a second, too, by the way, as I said earlier. Kevin's up next. What's up, Kevin?
Hey, what's going on, Jake? Hey, yeah, listen to Aaron Rodgers. You're a good football player. We want you to be our quarterback. We want you to lead us to many wins. Please stop talking about politics. Please stop. I mean, it's
Well,
just
he hasn't said anything. He hasn't said anything.
well, he has in the past, and with his floating with RFK, not killing the story, going on the Pat McAfee show, and just continuing to be a distraction to the team. Stop preaching. I don't want leaks, and I don't want this, and then being a distraction yourself.
That's
Because I got
fair.
to tell you,
No, that's fair, Kevin. But let me say this: if it was such a big distraction, why'd they vote him most inspirational? Like, you really think his teammates care about any of this stuff? Like, they love him.
no, I don't. But I tell you that Sandy Hook thing. You notice he got on top of that really quick. Because
Yeah,
I'm the
because that's different than because that's a big difference than the stupid vice president storyline. Which, if you actually believe that, Jet fans, I don't know what to tell you. The Sandy Hook thing is real world. Like, we're talking about one of the biggest tragedies in the history of our country, and the accusations made against him are like reputation ending for him. So of course he's going to go out there and put that to bed. He said the right thing.
He has to absolutely because I was when I first heard that on the fan, I said I was like, cut him. If that's true, I don't care. Some things I care about more than football. I'm sorry. That is one of those things. I wish he would actually come out and deny the 9/11 truther story that's been floating out there, and the New York media has kind of let him slide on that one. Because I mean, Aaron Rodgers has said a lot of crazy shit in the past, so it doesn't really surprise me. It still gives me hesitation, and I'll take him at his word. I'll take him at his word, even though there was some credible reporting on CNN. But nevertheless, I just think it's safer for Aaron just to shut up, concentrate on football, and keep your head down and put all this RFK Jr. stuff to bed and go play football for the New York Jets because that's all we
Kevin,
care about.
he hasn't said anything. That's my point to you. People are saying things for him. He didn't say he's running for VP. When he has been asked about football this offseason, you know what he has said, Kevin? That he can't wait to return and play for the Jets, and that he thinks he could play 2, 3, maybe 4 more years. That the Jets have a great team, and they're not that far away from winning. So I love how we selectively choose what to pull from Aaron Rodgers that we care about. We pretend like he's outspoken, he's saying all these things, when in reality, when he's been asked about football, all he has said is great things about wanting to come back and play for the New York Jets again. So now he's going to shut down this vice president thing. I'm telling you, the reason why I don't think he has is because he thinks it's ridiculous, and it's helping his friend RFK, who he likes, who he supports. And we're going to be hypocritical, like, if this was an athlete that was supporting Joe Biden, the mainstream media would have no problem. But because it's an independent candidate, it's like, oh, he's got to shut this down right now. He's supporting his friend by saying nothing because the story is so ridiculous. He is allowing all this attention for the next 12 days until RFK actually announces his running mate, for people to actually Google who's RFK, and maybe actually you watch an interview he does, or maybe you become interested. That's the point of this. I think Rodgers is very calculated with this. He shut down the Sandy Hook story because that's like career ending. That's like career suicide. Obviously, if someone's made those accusations against you, you'd want to shut it down immediately if it's not true. I think the VP thing is just we're having fun with it. Like, have you seen what Sauce has tweeted about it? Like, I don't think anyone actually takes it seriously. All right. But here are a couple clips from Aaron Rodgers that we should play here just to remind people that say, oh, he should care only about football. He should shut up and not say anything. That if you actually go back and look, if you actually go back and pay attention to what Aaron Rodgers has said when he's been asked about football specifically this offseason, what he has said is that he intends to not just play for one more year. What he has said is that he intends to play for 2 or 3 or 4 more years. So I can't sit here and rip him and say he needs to care about football only, because when he's actually asked about football, he says things like this.
How can I be my best with my diet today, with my fluid intake? Just everything down to a T to try and get better. And I got back on the practice field late in the season and couldn't get to a top speed sprinting, but really been in a good place rehab wise from the start and feeling really good. And, again, I'm hopeful I can play 2 or 3 or 4 more years. But you need to have some good fortune there too.
He made those comments on the Eddie Bravo podcast. Those comments came out a week before the initial story from the New York Times about the VP stuff came out. So you have those comments from Aaron. Then he does a separate podcast with Cam Haynes and says this when asked about football.
I mean, that was so disheartening and heartbreaking about last year was the work that I put in at 39 to put myself in a position to be able to play the whole season. I mean, I grinded. I came back, as fit as I've been in a long time, and hired a chef who helped me, with my diet and constant body work and stuff, just to be able to get through the season, and then to fucking play 4 plays was really, really tough, especially with all the excitement around us with Hard Knocks and new team and we were playing on 9/11. It was just a beautiful, beautiful night before that. So I gotta stay healthy. Beat back Father Time a few more years. But I like our chances. I like our guys. I like our coaching staff. We just got to put it all together. We got a fan base that's super, super hungry and desperate for wins. And I think we got the right guys. We got a good group of really talented young guys. We have the rookies of the year from a couple years ago, and Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner, top corner and top receiver. We got a couple guys behind him. We're also incredible rookies and coming off great second years. Jermaine Johnson had a big year for us as defensive end, and Brees Hall, our starting running back, who had a phenomenal year. Catching the ball, had 600 yards receiving, I think, and had a ton of yards rushing for us, and he's a game breaker. So we got to shore up the offensive line a little bit to add a couple guys there, maybe get another receiver. But I like our chances, and I feel like if I'm out there, we always got a chance.
Yeah, that sounds like a guy who's retiring to go be vice president when he made those comments a week ago. So we just played you the 2 most recent comments from Aaron Rodgers, who, Jake, he needs to focus on football. When he's asked about football, those are the answers he gives you. Last I checked, did his teammates not vote him most inspirational? The guys actually in the building who saw what he was like. And I can tell you from the off-the-record conversations I've had with Jet players, they love the man. It's obvious. They say it on the record. It's true off the record. So please, give me a break. You really believe the VP story, people? I don't know what to tell you. If he actually leaves the Jets to be the vice president, try and run and be the vice president of the United States, I'd be happy to admit I'm wrong. Not happening.